Okay, so this is it's basically me saying what the history is of Druidry. Now, obviously, most people who know about Druidry, or are a part of the religion of Druidry, must know this before anything, is that basically Stonehenge isn't a Druid site. We use it, like pagans and Druids, we all use it just as a place of power because it's a very powerful area. But altogether, it's not a Druid built place. Everybody who's looked into these things knows that. And where I start, well, I'll start right at the beginning. Now, Druidry was something that came after the people who built Stonehenge, and after a while, it just kind of became like what the medieval times were. A lot of people, just high magic and low magic, Druidry being the high magic, and the Celtic, religion just being the low magic, altogether being basically the same thing. So they were pretty much working in harmony, like a lot of religions were back then, because a lot of wars back then weren't on religion. They were just on simple things, like war of a land, war of a, if like your tribe was being insulted. But after a while, during the Roman period, the Romans did persecute and kill and basically repressed all Druids in Britain, apart from parts of, in Wales and Scotland, also Northern Ireland. There are a few other places too, but not that many. Also Cornwall. But that was mainly the Celtic the religion. After a while, the Druidry religion became more of a minority in those areas. But after the Romans came the repression of the Christians, who basically went into these areas, and they did make such things such as Celtic Christianity, and that's how a lot of Druidry got influenced at its revival. But mainly, a lot of Celtic religions were either repressed completely or were transformed into Christianity to make it easier for the people. They would make festivals into Christian festivals. They would make Christian saints out of pagan gods. They would basically transform it all and fit the stories into Christianity. But the new Druidry has been found to be less of the actual Druidry that happened back then, and more of Freemasonry and, I think it was the Iron Age, a lot of Iron Age influences. But how it originally started was in 1717, apparently a lot of Druidic orders, this isn't determined, this is just kind of like, it's just not determined, so I can't be sure if this is actually true or not. But apparently members of several Druidic orders, and I don't know if they survived through history, just like they say that the witches survived through history, or through the persecution. That religion is now known as Wicca. And apparently they all came together with John Toland and created the ancient Druid Order in 1781. So obviously, if that happened, it took a very long while to sort out. Now, they also created other places like the Albion Lodge of the Ancient Order of Druids in Oxford, and also French Druidism was born in 1869. So Druidry was starting to become a thriving thing. Now, the Romantic movement of the 18th and 19th century also affected modern Druidry. because people took interest in it and created myths about it. Poems were made. There were a lot of things coming out, and after a while, a lot of druids started making. Well, they made druid temples actually. Some people, which are commonly known as groves, and they also made druidic magazines. This continued to happen until a group came out of Ross Nichols, and it was called the Order of Bards, Ovids, and Druids. Then also other groups came out of that, because that was one of the major influences of modern day Druidry. That's what brought it out into the open, and for a while it couldn't come out, just like witchcraft could come out when the witchcraft wars were repealed in 1951. It had to wait quite a while, afterwards. But when they came out, it just spread like wildfire, and organisations just kept on going. So the ancient Druid Order is still around, apparently. And then obviously I told you about the Order of the Bards, Ovids, and Druids. The British Druid Order came about. So did the Ardnodreathyn, or something like that. That's a Celtic order. The Henge of Keltria came out, and this just continued. More and more people just kept on joining like that. And that's how basically Druidry started. Basically it just started as a lot of religions all coming together to form all this. Alright, now I'll start to tell you about a few groups. First is the OBOD, which is obviously the Order of Bards, Ovids, and Druids, which was started, sorry, I got a bit confused. It started in the 1960s, and as a 3-year training course, a free degree system, which started with the Bardic level, then the Ovid level, and then obviously the Druid level. There was initiation ceremonies done by them. They had officers such as the Pendragon, the Scribe, the Modron. They had a lot of spiritual roles. A chief. It was very organised, and this set up seed groups and groves across Britain. Not just Britain though, they set it up across United Kingdom, Ireland, continental Europe, Australia, all sorts of places. So that's just one of the groups. Also the British Druid Order, and that basically grew out of the OBOD. And it came out with similar teachings, or similar training to the OBOD. But they've also started, they're also called the Druid Network. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. And they have also started to make groves all over Britain and started large events and gatherings. Now this is the one that I find hard to pronounce, is the Ardnodreathyn or something. But this was started by Isaac Bonewitz. I'll just call it the ADF, yeah, that's what it's called. But the ADF was an North American Druidic group, and the name means our own Druidism in Gaelic. Although it's called Druidry, in that it's just called Druidism. Alright, so ADF members started in United States and Canada, led by Mother Grove, and it basically branched off. And if you think of a load of people under one king, but obviously the people are spread out. So it's kind of like that. It's basically a lot of groups coming together to create one big group, or just under one legion. So that's another. There's also the Henge of Keltria, which is an offshoot of the ADF, and their focus is on Celtic druidry, mainly. And local groups were organised into groves and study groups, as long as they had to go with the Henge bylaws. But they have solitary members a lot. But that is basically the history of druidry and also druid organisations. I haven't mentioned all of them, such as the secular order of druids, but I've mentioned the mainstream ones. So like, subscribe. If you're a druid, tell me your opinion on this video, please, or tell me if I've missed anything out, because I can't get exactly everything, because I've got a time limit. But I can always make a part 2, or just have like a basic history facts. Subscribe, yeah, whatever. Goodbye.